So this is the GNU collab with Evo Hypercarve, and it's exclusively with Evo this year, but next year it's coming out across the board with everybody. And so they just kind of tested this out at Evo, and like I said in the review, it's just kind of this crazy combo between like a TRS in like one of their surfy shapes, like the old Space Out or something like that, where you have an XC2 camber profile, and you can see, you know, the tip and tail are pretty lifted off the snow, and there's a small rocker in the middle that goes to a longer camber, but it's not a super aggressive camber like you would see in the ripsaw profiles with Never Summer boards. But it is more than regular C2 BTX, which is their kind of like hybrid camber. There's just a longer camber curve and a shorter rocker, and it makes the board a little, you know, stable at times when you weight it down. It's you can see it's still a little loose, and that makes it not catchy, and that's great. But it makes it kind of like when you get off the chair and you're one footing, it's kind of like whoa. And when you're going down a long flat cat track, you kind of always want to be on a little bit on edge. So that can take a little of the fun of getting through a long flat cat track, because it's really fun to flat base on those and just go. And same thing, but it's something you get used to, and it's just something with all hybrid rocker boards that you experience, even with the more aggressive camber profiles like the Never Summer Ripsaw. What I do like about this board, though, is it's kind of been used, so it's not pretty under these studio lights like it was when I first got it. And we've ridden this for many days now, and in many places we've ridden it in hard snow to powder and everything in between, and it's got a good float. It's got good grip in hard snow, despite its loose feel in hard snow. As the snow gets softer, it feels a little more stable and fine, but you get to see two different types of personalities underfoot, depending on the conditions you're in. So the board kind of changes with you. Is that mic still in the right place? Okay, cool. Gotta say though, it's a little tapered in the tip and tail. There's the nose is like a good bit wider, and the tail is a good bit narrower. But this 157 really fits my my feet pretty well. It's a nice fit for the size 9s. The waist is a little wide, but the tail is kind of normal width, kind of what I see with most boards that I ride that are twins. And then the nose is really wider, so it's got a nice float, it's got a nice sink. It's a good board for those who see a lot of powder, but also see a lot of hard snow. And we didn't feel it grabbing in that Pacific Northwest powder or that Sierra, thick Sierra powder. Actually, it wasn't thick. It was pretty good Sierra powder, but we didn't feel it grabbing like it can. And you can see the magnet traction's kind of really almost non-existent up here, and then it starts to get pretty aggressive in the middle and then taper off again. So there's really good grip between the feet where you need it. Love this all black base. You know, yeah, I think that's die cut, but wow, it's done so well. It looks like they did a base grind. You can't even feel the die cut anywhere along that, if it is die cut, but I think it is. And then the rest is just black, so it's super easy to repair with black PTEX, which is just, you know, what I love. And it's also just got, like you said, it's real easy to butter. It's because of this rocker in the middle. Now, one thing that you'll find out is that with any company that makes hybrid rocker like this, rocker that comes up and camber that comes back down, you're going to find your tip and tail are different in the way they sit off the snow or off this table. You know, almost every board is different. Wood is wood. It's not the same every time. Nobody can quality control wood like that. So every company that does this, you'll find that the bend in the middle is different. So some might be higher, some might be lower, some might have a more stable profile, some might be even higher than this. But so you never know what you're getting, but in general, you're going to find that it's loose in hard snow, floaty in soft snow and pretty stable. So that's why we call it semi-stable. Let's get into the setback. I think it's 1.5 inches on side cut, which is kind of cool because just move it up 2. And, you know, because it's 0.75 between inserts. And so, or 20 mil, you know, 0.75. So if you're just like this and you want to get to centered, you just go 1, 2, and voila, you're closer to centered on side cut, or centered on side cut. So then you can take it a little differently than you could in powder. But let's talk about the setback. So for me, you know, I always prefer like a 22.5, 22 3/4, and look at that, almost 22 3/4. So that's really fun for me because I can use the setback almost all the way. It's like 22.6, 57.5 centimeters, it seems like. So let's talk about setback on board. You're looking at 56 centimeters or 22 inches. And then kind of back on the tail here, you're looking at 16.5. So what is that? 3.5. So 5.5 inches back on board. This is 22, 16.5. Yeah, 5.5. That's really good. And that's why it floated so well in powder. It's a really setback, surfy, fun ride. And then when brought up closer to centered, let's see, what did I do? I brought this, you can see from the marks, I put this all over the place. But if you want to get close to, you know, 22.5, 22.6, you know, is all the way up here. And that's kind of fun, you know. It's, you know, so you're looking 1, 2. Yeah, so you kind of want to get to about there for centered on board. And if you move it all the way up, you're a little bit forward on it and it'll be a little more washy. But it's still really fun to do and really fun to play around with. And like I said in the On Snow review, it's just kind of that board that can, it's definitely a free ride board, but it's a forgiving, playful free ride board that you can butter, that you can press, that you can play around with. You can take it out on hard snow. You can even take it switch and it's okay, but it's not great. If you're kind of Jimbo, the kind of guy who can ride anything and make it work for you, you know, then yeah, you can have a blast with this. This can act almost like an all mountain freestyle board, but it's an all mountain freestyle personality in the shape of a directional free ride board. And although I'm not sure if it's going to unseat any favorites, it's highly recommendable for somebody who wants to kind of get their feet into free ride and get a little more directional and surfy, or for somebody who's just sick and tired of riding super stiff, aggressive, directional free ride boards, and they want something a little more playful, a little more fun, but that can still lay out a pretty good carve, especially in harder snow, and get a little surfy, get a little buttery, and good pop, you know, fun edge to edge transitioning. Not super fast, but real easy, and super easy to skid your turn because of like the camber profile that you saw. It's just not catchy. So even though the flex might be, you know, still buttery and playful, that camber profile really makes it forgiving and playful, way more so than you would think. So there you have it. That's the GNU Evo Hypercarve, but really the GNU Hypercarve, and coming out in all stores next year. So there you go. But if you want it now, exclusively done at Evo. It even says Evo on it. You know, that kind of like Evo Mervin co-branding. And the artist the art was done from a guy at Evo. So next year it'll be just straight up GNU board. But there you go. There you have it.